Prosecutors in Alex Murdaugh's double murder trial telling jurors that he killed his wife and his son to avoid a devastating financial reckoning.
Maggie sees what happens and she comes running over there, running to her baby. Probably the last thing on her mind, thinking that it was him who had done this. She's running to her baby while he's picked up the blackout and opens fire at close range. The pressures on this man were unbearable, and they were all reaching a crescendo the day his wife and son were murdered by him.
The closing arguments made as jurors went out to visit the scene of the crime. The defense will make its final case starting at 9:30 this morning. Criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Josh Ritter joins us now to react. Good morning to you, Josh.
Good morning. Thank you.
Good morning. Well, thanks for coming on. Was that a good idea to take the jurors out there on the field trip?
You know, it was a curious move that it came from the defense requesting it. Usually you see this coming from the prosecution, but because the prosecution wants the jurors to have the most clear understanding of the murders and how they took place. I don't care how many maps or diagrams or photographs you look at, nothing's going to replace actually being at the crime scene to understand how it took place. But in this case, it came from the defense, which leads me to be suspicious that they may have something in closing that's important to them for the jurors who have actually seen the crime scene. It may have been distances. It may have been where locations were, where Murdaugh claims he was at the time of the shootings, so that they could understand why he wouldn't hear the gunshots. I don't know, but it was interesting that it came from the defense rather than the prosecution.
Yeah, Dick Harpootlian, the defense attorney, he said he wanted security out there as well because so many people have been showing up on the property, taking selfies, and paparazzi has been out there too. People are curious about this case. What's going through the mind of the jurors?
You know, I really feel this case all comes down to the testimony of Alex Murdaugh. You know, the defense put on about as good a case as they could. They ended really strong, but all of that is really window dressing for his testimony. And it really comes down to one question of why did he lie to investigators about perhaps the most important thing he could have told them that evening? And this is what the prosecution drilled home during their closing is, you could have told them where you were within close proximity of those murders, but you kept that information from them and you lied and lied and lied again. And he provided an answer to the jurors when he testified. He said that he was under this kind of drug-induced paranoia. But if the jurors don't buy that, I think his whole case sinks or swims really with his answer to those questions of whether or not jurors believe.
Do you think he did it?
I think there's a lot of evidence pointing towards him and very little evidence pointing towards anyone else.
Yeah, there's just so many questions. Where are the family guns? And who would have done this and not taken anything else? And then whoever did this locked the dog back up in the dog cage. It would seem only an owner would do that. If you've just killed someone, wouldn't you run away? So there's so many questions, but we'll see what the juror decides. When will we have an answer, do you think?
Well, the defense is going to put on their closing today. Then we'll see rebuttal from the prosecution. I don't think it's going to be as long as the prosecution's opening closing arguments. You know, it could be one of those things where we might get an answer as early as later this week. An interesting thing is it looks like the jurors might be deliberating through the weekend. So who knows? Really? This might be one of those things where we have an answer over the weekend.
Yeah, I'm sure they're ready for this to be over. It's been almost a month or maybe about a month. Thanks so much, Josh, for coming on.